I think everybody kind of wants to know, what is my backyard going to look like, parish by parish? Is there any way you can do a quick little round robin and tell everybody, you know, what we're expecting if you have a map?
Let's see, we have actually built a graphic, Peyton Malone did, and you know what, we're going to have to make some updates on that as we continue through the rest of this afternoon and evening. I don't know if Alexa can find that graphic. Alexa Trischler is also here with me. Kind of working. There's a lot that goes on during hurricane coverage, not just on air. We have. I'm loading it up on two, so. Okay, thank you. She's going to load that graphic up. So we can kind of go zone by zone for you and kind of give you a rough idea. Numbers that we had from early this morning really haven't dramatically changed with regards to timing, storm surge totals, rainfall totals. So we're getting that popped up right now, and then I'll kind of show you that in just a minute. And obviously, our viewing area for Southeast Louisiana, it is a pretty large area. We have coastal communities, we have inland areas that are protected by the Hurricane Risk Reduction System. Then we have the North Shore parishes into coastal and southern Mississippi as you move away from the coastline itself. So we actually have a fairly diverse area that we cover for television. And with regard to that, each area will see different impacts from the storm. And obviously those a little bit closer to the center of the storm, obviously those that are dealing more with the storm surge aspects, where those are the areas that would need to evacuate. We've got those kind of differences where this is not we were actually kind of playing around with a graphic earlier for kind of evacuation spots if you wanted to leave, and we both kind of hesitated, Alexa and I, thinking this isn't really a massive evacuation. Yes, there is the discomfort if you lose power, and obviously if you want to, you go ahead and leave, go to somewhere where they're not going to lose power, you're a little bit more comfortable for hopefully nothing more than a day or two. Hopefully this is not a widespread issue, and it doesn't appear as though that would be the case. However, I'm not an infrastructure expert, so I'll save my thoughts on that. So here's what we're looking at for the North Shore. We have a tropical storm warning. The timing looking at Wednesday, possibly 3 to 6 inches of rainfall. And keep in mind, we're kind of going on the higher end with regards to what could be kind of a worst case scenario. Winds gusting, these are not sustained, but as we've been mentioning, 50 to 70 miles an hour, especially. You can see what we have drawn out here is the path of the center of the storm. So that's where you're going to find the strongest of the wind. So if this does pass kind of across Livingston, St. Helena, you would be getting in on some of the strongest winds. Keep in mind, it will be weakening at that point and moving through very, very quickly. So even though sustained winds of maybe 75 to 80 miles an hour at that point wouldn't last for very long. This is not going to be a long duration type storm. Ida painfully crawled across the state of Louisiana. It took 30 hours from the point of landfall to moving into southwestern Mississippi. This is not going to do that. Storm surge, and again, we're talking about areas in southern Tangi and along everything well south of 12, but from Slidell, Lacombe, Mandeville, Madisonville, out toward kind of south of Ponchatoula, that is going to be the area where you see the storm surge of 3 to 5 feet. Kind of common, you see that along Lakeshore Drive. That is pretty frequently the flooded area. Elsewhere around our zones that we've been talking about would be, say, let's see, I can switch it here myself, would be, okay, here is kind of Metro New Orleans, so including northern JP, both East and West Bank. And kind of keep in mind that we're also looking at areas in New Orleans East that are outside of the Hurricane Risk Reduction System. Tropical storm warning, this is all for tomorrow. Rainfall about the same, wind gusts about the same, but I think they may be a little bit less. We were talking about the winds gusting to about 50 to 70 in the St. Tammany Parish and more so into Tangipahoa Hope Parish. I think they're going to be a little bit less here, maybe more 50 to at the most 60 miles an hour. We'll go high end and say 70 at the worst case scenario as things stand right now. The 3 to 5 foot, and also for JP, we're including areas south of Lafitte. So, and again, outside of the Hurricane Risk Reduction System and outside of the Hurricane Risk Reduction System for Orleans is where we could see the 3 to 5 feet. In the protected area, we're not going to have any issues. Heading a little bit more west, so asking about the river parishes. Again, rainfall about the same. Wind gusts, we have the potential, and especially greater toward St. John, St. James, of 60 to 80 mile an hour wind gusts, but also with the path of the storm taking it right over and kind of just along the outer kind of border of our viewing area, so a little bit assumption, you're going to have the better chance. As things stand right now, again, the forecasted track could change again, but as things stand right now, it would be from Plaquemine up toward Gonzales, near Napoleonville, Donaldsonville. You would see some of the strongest sustained winds as well as some of the strongest gusts. Outside of the risk reduction system, so the area in St. Charles, St. James, St. John that are not yet protected, we're looking at 3 to 5 feet. Again, that's what we're expecting in the lake, and that's what we're expecting at the highest point during the afternoon and evening tomorrow. And then our bayou parishes, also winds gusting up to 70 to 90, especially right along the coastline. So as the storm is moving inland, exactly where it makes landfall, probably just off to the west, but there is that potential. And again, these numbers are very fluid. As things kind of change, even sometimes slight, those numbers will have to be readjusted as well. Now, the storm surge for you, again, we're going kind of highest threat would be 5 to 10 feet. We've been talking about everything from kind of Port Fourchon and Cocodrie west, especially out toward the rest of Terrebonne Bay, central to western Terrebonne Bay and Vermilion Bay. You're looking at some of the higher rainfall, higher surge levels as well. And then looking at more of the coastal communities outside of the bayou parishes, wind gusts are going to be obviously quite a bit less. We're saying 60 to 80, and again, kind of the high end, because as you go farther east, you're getting now farther away from the storm, which we'll have to see how large its wind field is. Right now, it is very, very tiny. So we'll say, unless the wind field really starts to expand in the next 20 hours or so, we may not see these tropical storm force, let alone hurricane force winds that far away from the center. And really, we're not expecting widespread hurricane force winds sustained. Certainly the possibility of nearing those gusts, but looking at the sustainment. West, so again, from Port Fourchon, kind of from the mouth of the river toward Port Fourchon, 4 to 7, and then areas east, we're looking at about 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. Obviously, with the trajectory this storm is taking, it is piling up that water, and it's generally all of our southeastern facing coastlines are going to experience all of the worst of it, but the greatest will be near the center and more of our southern facing as opposed to our southeastern and eastern facing shorelines. And then along the Mississippi goes, we meant to change, that's not 395-foot storm surge, it will be 3 to 5 feet, and obviously the wind gust as you get certainly into southern Mississippi will be a lot less.